Okay, everybody. Welcome to the fourth round of the Modern Titanium Challenge here in November. These players are playing for a chunk of cash, $400 to first, and an invite to the Titanium Finals, which is worth more than $400. At the Titanium Finals is a $5,000 invite-only tournament that will only invite 32 players. And honestly, be a very easy tournament to figure out. Not to say it won't be hard to play, but it'll be easy to figure out because let's say Callahan on your left qualifies. He can look at the winners and say, well, I know what he's going to play, I know what she's going to play, I know what they're going to play, because that's all they play. So you can build your deck accordingly. That's what they're playing for. They're 3-0, both of these guys. Gordon on the left and Steven on the right. And they're 3-0. So basically, if they win this round, they should be able to double draw into the top 8. So, if you are a faithful watcher, if you watched the last 4 rounds, you may notice the playmat's a little different on the left. Gordon asked me, he said, hey, can I use my own playmat? And normally I'd just say no. Because, well, they're the Titanium playmats. That's what we use. That's our brand. But in this case, he said, it's my own art. I made it. I'm not going to say no to that. So, nice art, Gordo, excuse me. If you want to purchase any of this art, hit him up on Facebook. He does, I believe, sell it. Now, that's Gordo, who always trips me up with his name, literally every single time. I say Gordon when I should say Gordo. I say Callahan when I should say Callahan. I have to imagine he did this whole name thing just to troll me. That's all I can guess. And speaking of trolls, by the way, Gordon's deck has 3 Troll Aesthetic in the sideboard. He is playing Infect, a deck which everyone thinks is dead, but for some reason at this November challenge, there's a lot of Infect here. And what an Infect deck this is. This is bizarre. He has like some strange stuff. 1 Piracy Charm, 3 Dissenter's Deliverance main deck, an Ichor Clum, a Slaughterhorn main deck for some damn reason. I don't know. Gordo, you madman. Steven, on your right. Steven's playing Urzatron. Boring old Urzatron. But I'll tell you what, it wins a lot, and that's why he's playing it. He's very accomplished with this deck. Usually wins more than he loses when he plays it. Always can be seen making a deep run in any given tournament. Steve's a good friend of mine. He's always playing the most powerful deck in the format, or at least the one he thinks is the most powerful deck. So, we have Tronland versus Hierarch. Now, it's no Glistener Elf. Noble Hierarch is no Glistener Elf. but it's a pretty good start. I would love to be able to track the win rates of decks, and of course, if we had all this data, if we had all the data, if you take that to its logical conclusion, I mean, Magic would be a solved game in the end when everything's said and done. I was just having this argument with someone on Facebook. Will Magic be a solved game? Eventually. Yeah, probably. Will having all the deck lists on Magic Online, as some people argue for, like they say that every single deck list of every single player, all matches should be publicly available. No, of course not. That's ridiculous. That's just hastening Magic's doom. I mean, I'm not one who thinks Magic's gonna die. You'll never catch me saying Magic's dead or dying like everyone's saying. But damn, why you gotta do things to speed it up? Magic Online is already a problem with solving formats. Why hasten that? I don't get it. I don't see why. Now for Gordo. We got a Blighted Agent. Leaving 1 mana up for a potential pump spell. Spell Pierce. Piracy Charm. Blossoming Defense. Apostle's Blessing. He has a lot of 1-ofs, a lot of 2-ofs, so he's repping a lot of stuff here. Steve definitely telegraphing a Dismember at the end of Gordo's turn. I'll be interested to see if he actually has it, or if that's like a fake tell. One thing that really impresses me about Steve, and I've played with him for a lot of years, is that he's pretty hard to read. You know, we all have that player that we play with, that we test with, that we play every week. You just always know what they have. For whatever reason, either you have a good read on them, or they're obvious. You just know what they have. You know what to play around. You know when they don't have it. Steve, through being very balanced with the amount of time he takes for his decisions as well as his poker face, hard to read. In our 4-man play group from times past, I could always predict what Joe had. I could always predict what Pat had. Steve, a little harder to read. A lot harder to read. And of course he pays for that. He gets more draws than almost anyone I know. He takes more time thinking about it than anyone I know. Onboard kill, he thinks about it. But hey, you got 50 minutes to finish a match. Cavern comes down, names Eldrazi. Thought Not Seer comes out. Oh, I'm a liar. Walking Ballista. Maybe that Cavern didn't name Eldrazi. Apostle's Blessing comes out to stymie a Ballista trigger. Will Steven respond? Have to imagine he will. If Gordo's willing to do this over 1 counter and I'm Steven, I gotta think that it's worth using the other Ballista counter. He doesn't like it, but he does it. I agree with that play. You still get your 2 for 1. You still don't die next turn, no matter what. No combination of cards going to kill you next turn. You'll live to untap with at least 4 mana. And maybe a Dismember, depending on whether that was a fake tell or a real tell at the end of Gordo's 2nd turn. In for one goes Gordo. Oh, and wow, says go. Gordo has no more Infect creatures. Let's see what Steve has. Will he assemble Urzatron this turn? It looks like it. Started the turn with 4 mana available. Through playing and cracking an Expedition map, going to go up to 5 mana. Gordo's so out of this game, he's fixing my technology. Thank you, Gordo. I'm sorry for this unfortunate matchup. Ooh, Chalice on 2. Interesting. Very interesting. My tech solutions are impeccable, clearly. And that's a reader. I think anyone in this room would have to read Piracy Charm, including myself. I'm currently Googling it. I remember like one of the modes. I don't remember any of the other modes. Alright, +2/+1. Or discard a card. Or Island Walk. So, Gordo, almost nothing going here. His route to victory involves like drawing a Nexus very soon. Because although Steve only has a Matter Reshaper, he has infinite mana at this point, and most draws in his deck are just gas. He only has like lands, and even then, Ghost Quarter is a land he can draw, Seagate Refuge is a land he can draw. Everything else is gas, besides like Matter Reshaper and like Urza lands. I guess you can draw the second Cavern, the second Waste, but Gordo, not many good draws in his deck. Steve, very many good draws. And he's got a Mindstorm to track at the end of the turn. Potential Dismember in hand, too. One mana, Glistener Elf. Again, thinking about this Dismember. I think you hold that for as long as possible if you're Steven. So there is the Dismember. Will be effectively countered here, it looks like, by a Vines. Untaps to Steve. What's he got? He does have to present a real threat at some point. Be it a reality smasher, an Endbringer. Expedition map is not a threat. It does go get a Seagate Wreckage or a Ghost Quarter, but it's not a threat. That's for sure. Now, an option Steve had was to, instead of playing that Eldrazi Temple, play and crack the map and have a Ghost Quarter in play. Get rid of the Pendelhaven. That may have been superior than going to try and find a Seagate Wreckage. I'm not sure. Because now Glistener Elf is an X4. And yeah, Matter Shaper blocks and draws a card, replaces itself. Well, it doesn't trade. Steven draws Endbringer off Matter Shaper. Draws a Waste for the turn. Definitely not the draw he wants. I think now you gotta go get Ghost Quarter. I think that's just something you should be doing right now. So Endbringer comes out uncounterable. That will shut these things down. All these little pingers. These little dirtlers. These little X1s. We're still in game one. This has still been a long game one with a surprising amount of play, but it's still game one. And again, Expedition map uncracked. Steve is pretty fixated on this plan of going to get Seagate Wreckage. But with Chalice on 2, I just gotta imagine Ghost Quarter is better because, like, you're gonna win the long game. Your cards cost 7, 6. They replace themselves. They are 5/5 trample hastes. All you have to do is, like, not die. And you're at 0 Infect, so the chances of you losing this game are pretty low if you're Steve. It's true. But you gotta cut off your opponent's avenues to victory. Like last turn, if you got the Ghost Quarter, the Matter Reshaper would have traded with the Glistener Elf. And there'd be 0 Infect threats on the board. Of course, that has its cons too, right? Like, by leaving the map on the board like Steve's done, any drawn Inkmoth Nexi are like able to be dealt with, right? Because Expedition map can still go get it. As a Might of Old Krosa targets Glistener Elf. Response to Might, Steve will pop the Relic, try and draw into a Dismember. And again, if this Pendelhaven were dead, these creatures would be trading. But it continues to do work. And bring her down. Gordo says go. Steve still leaves map uncracked. Very interesting. I wonder what his plan is for this map. Reshaper. The line's still available. Go get a Ghost Quarter. Use it on Pendelhaven. Your creatures are still trading then. Here we go. Will Gordo fetch a land? Appears not. Only 2 forests in the deck. Steven says go. Only a land left in hand. So, despite the Chalice on 2, despite having unlimited mana available to him, he is still not in a great spot here. Still just a Pendelhaven away, a pump spell away from having no board. He tried to play for the Seagate Wreckage to win the long game. But it didn't work. He had to get the Ghost Quarter anyway. But he does get a Matter Reshaper trigger. It still trades with a card. He's going to be up a card. Karn Liberated. That's a good one. So Steve has the ability to reduce Gordo to 0 Infect creatures with a Karn Liberated. And Ghost Quarter drawn protects him from Dryad Arbor. Perfect. Yep. Glistener Elf is exiled. And Ghost Quarter protects him. Now Gordo can draw something like a Blossoming Defense to take out this Karn, giving his Dryad Arbor hexproof, protecting it from Ghost Quarter. He's not drawing dead as Gordo. Ooh, he attacks it for 2. He didn't draw it. Steve untaps, draws. Needs to hit another spell here to maintain control. Thought Knot would be great. Any creature would be great. Karn pluses does nothing. Up to 5 though. 3 mana. Another Thought Knot's here. And a land. So, Steve has Ghost Quarter, Thought Knotseer, Karn for relevant permanents. That's all he's got. He is out of resources beyond what is on the board. If Gordo can get rid of that Karn, he has the advantage somehow. These like 1 mana spells are somehow doing something. Blade Agent countered. He can't do it. That's a Bladed Agent. Another Glistener Elf. Matter Reshaper, land. So Steven improves his board. Gordo draws his card. Steven leans back. That's the lean back of an active Karn. So Might of Old Crows is targeting Dryad Arbor. Trying to bait out the Ghost Quarter. Gordo is playing to his outs, right? He thinks, okay, well, if I can bait my opponent into using Ghost Quarter, then draw an Inkmoth Nexus, then draw some Pump, he can win. And I like the line, I do. Gordo has to try. He has to try. These creatures now can finally attack. 9 coming in. Boom. Gordo, 1 attack away. Needs to draw a blue Wrath of God. It's not going to happen. There's the Scoopy. As Judge Gill delivers the match slip 25 minutes late. So, Steve consults his sideboard guide. Gordon knows his by heart. For Steve, there's not that much. Hangerback Walker should come in as just a stall tactic. The 1/1 flyer can also block a Nexus. The Warping Whale could come in as a 2-mana kill spell on most of the deck. Grafdigger's Cage, not going to do much. Basilisk Collar, life gain not at its best here. Surgical, not so good, but the card that Steve is going to rely most heavily on is Ratchet Bomb, as this is a way that gets around Apostle's Blessing, Blossoming Defense, Become Immense, Piracy Charm, Vines of the Bastard, Pendlehaven, Slip Through Space. All of these cards are stymied by Ratchet Bomb. So Steve will definitely be boarding these 3 in addition to the Hangerbacks and the Warping Whales. Expecting to take out some of the slower cards, like Reality Smasher, maybe All Is Dust. Not really sure how he's going to sideboard. We'll see. Gordo has an alternative plan. He has a Temple Garden in his deck. This Temple Garden supports Stony Silences and Paths to Exile. Now, while these don't win the game for him, they definitely are attacking on maybe a different axis than Steve's going to be expecting, right? Like, Steve can deploy a huge Hangerback that just gets pathed. He might not expect that from Gordo. Gordo may drop a Stony Silence on turn 2, while Steve's staring at the 2 Walking Ballistas that he kept his sketchy hand because they had. Right? Gordo also has the ability to board in Troll Ascetic to go with his Rancors, Apostles, Groundswells, etc., 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 etc. But I expect him to board in all these cards. Troll Ascetic has been a pet card of Gordo's for a long time. Since the very first January challenge when he brought this deck, and I was blown away. So as the players shuffle up, they realize they only have 21 minutes left to play 2 more games if you're Gordo, 1 more if you're Steve. Gordo goes to Paris. Steve makes a grimace. Proving me wrong when I said he had a good poker face. Thanks a lot, Steve. Steve Zhang has a Grand Prix top 8 to his name. Back in something like 2011, top 8 a limited Grand Prix in Canada, Grand Prix Toronto, I think it was. Fell in the round of 8 there. Since then, no Grand Prix top 8s, but he has been close a couple more times. Gordo, no Grand Prix top 8s to his name. Definitely been around a little less time than Steve. Steve's an old man on the tournament scene. Steve and I were coming to TJ Collectibles way back. Back like 2003 we were coming to TJ Collectibles. Gordo going to 5. It's unfortunate. There's an opponent who's keeping 7. Oh, no, excuse me. He's on 6. My bad. Doing things slightly out of order here. Steve scrying before Gordo has his 5 cards. Doesn't really matter. He's only costing himself information. Though technically it is a violation. And if there were a table judge here, he'd probably get a warning. Or at least a verbal warning. So breeding pool into Noble. Good start for Gordy. Now let's try and figure out why Steve grimaced when he kept the hand, right? Like, what cards might it have had that Steve could be leaning on here? Did he have no lands, but he had a Ratchet Bomb? Did he have a Dismember in a 5-land hand? Did he have both of his cards, but his sideboard cards? And wow, look at this. That's brutal. Brutal. I don't have my jump to conclusions mat on me. But I think Gordo's done here. 1 land, his entire plan stifled, and a Chalice on 1. Oh. Gordo. Poor Gordo. Ooh, though, look at this Nexus. Look at this Nexus. It's not nothing. Another mine. Set of mines. Ooh, Thought Not Seer. Oh, man, look at that. Look at that. There's the smile from Gordo. He can finally lose his poker face. 5-1 drops. And if I'm Steve, I'm not even thinking too hard about this. Like, why waste the time? Player's calling a judge. Steve needs an Oracle text. On a Vines of the Vastwood, perhaps. Getting that Oracle. In for 3. Gordo, just milking this camera time here. Gordo, scoop him up. Go get some pizza, Gordo. Yeah, definitely the time has passed when Steve can say that the spell is countered. I think, I'm not positive on this ruling. I may be called here for witness. See how Judge Gill rules here.
So you didn't say anything. When you untapped your lands, what were your intending to do that thing?
I was going to drop, but then
You're going to go to your turn.
all right. Yes, and then I was going to say, once I realized you were going to drop, switch.
So I get that. We actually we're past the point where you tell us that you missed your trigger because you went to untap your lands. So you have missed your trigger in this case. There's no penalty because obviously you want the trigger resolved. You have missed.
So Judge Gill does rule correctly. He rules that you guys couldn't hear the conversation that happened, so I'll sum it up for you. Judge Gill, the crux of it, Judge Gill asked Steve, what was your intention when you untapped your lands? And this is a point where less honest players might prevaricate a little bit and get them into trouble. But Steve said, yeah, I was going to draw. He admitted it, and obviously that's too late. Too late, clearly too late. And Judge Gill rules correctly that this spell's counted. Not that it matters much, because look at this board state. We have 8 power versus 7 life, and a handshake. Unfortunate for Gordo, all to 5. Your Noble Rancor plan gets countered by a 1-mana removal spell from the colorless deck. Thanks, Phyrexian Mana. Unfortunate for Gordo. But hey, fortunate for Steve. Someone's got to win. Someone's got to advance to 4-0. Ready to double draw into the top 8. But we got a whole mess of players at 3-1 that one of which I'm going to feature next round. So stay tuned. Let me know what you think. If you're Gordo, thumbs down this video. If you're Steve, thumbs up. For everyone else, do what you want. If you want to criticize me constructively or otherwise, leave a comment on this video. Or hit me up on Facebook, TJ Titanium Series or Zack Hall. Let me know what you think, what I could do better. Again, thanks for watching. Get ready for round 5.